I forgot to forgive myself. I remember contemplating her on TV commercials, and once I saw her in person at some beach party. She exuded wealth and looked uptight, which is expected from an indigene of the elite class of Luanda. He used to tell me that I resemble her. So whenever I watched her interviews, I would ideate about her, trying to spot the so-called resemblance. She seemed worried, hence she pleaded. He needs you. He's not okay. She said his name, but I am choosing not to mention it. I was confused by the message within the dream, though I knew something was wrong. When I woke up, I saw a missed call from my sister, and before I could call her back, she shocked me with the news. His mother is dead. Then she sent another message, mentioning her name, which would be anticipated since her name is so renowned. Yet she knew the only reason that the news would break me was because she was his mother. The mother of the man who crushed my spirit was dead. Now the dream was becoming clearer, all making sense. The deceased appeared in my dream, telling me that her son was suffering since she was no longer there. I didn't understand why the universe expected me to offer him some comfort. Why me? I had never met that woman in my life. I was never introduced to her, nor was I qualified to be called a girlfriend to her son. I was just someone whom he spent nights with when we were in college. And at that time, there were so many stringent conditions for one to become a girlfriend, and I definitely didn't meet any of those requirements. When I told my sister about the dream, I could sense that she didn't believe me. It's okay. Being the fanciful person that I am, it is not a surprise that others usually question my stories. I couldn't make this up. It actually gave me chills. I was scared to find out that my intuition was so accurate and powerful. I have witnessed the power of my intuition before. At one time when a stranger sexually assaulted me while I was sleeping. I dreamt about it and I was able to wake up, making him stop. Though it wasn't a full rape, it was just half rape. On the contrary, the person in question, he ravished me entirely. He destroyed me. Worse still, it wasn't just rape. It was a fancy one. A fancy sexual offense is being spelled by rich folks, and it implies that I should forgive his aberrant and cannibal behavior because his mother was a well-known businesswoman in Angola. My sister asked me if I was going to visit him to offer my condolences, and I told her adamantly that I wasn't. I lied. My sister was the rapporteur on telling me every disgusting thing he constantly displayed anent our relationship, so I was ashamed to show her that I still cared for him. I rushed to the internet and Googled, how can I feel empathy for my rapist? And the word forgiveness kept popping up. My intuition challenged me to go. I got there dutifully and could sense that people were looking at me. I felt embarrassed and didn't want to be there anymore. People tend to appreciate or praise cold human beings, and not those who are forgiving. I had this nagging feeling inside me that others were actually wondering. After all this guy did to her, she's still so stupid to come here. And to think that they didn't know about the illicit incident, only his unwarranted acts, how he was trifled with me, how he threw me out of his house several times, how he made salacious gestures to my body in front of his friends, etc. The adverb etc. applied so well in this sentence. There is so much I could include from that unhealthy realm. I didn't intend to greet him. I simply wanted him to see that I was there. His cousin decided to call him to come and greet me. He came smiling, not a genuine smile, a cocky one, the kind of smile that says he was entitled to my servitude. He greeted me gleefully.
Hey, how are you?
I was so tethered to him, I could not move. Whereas he looked unflappable, we even joked around. He didn't change a bit. He was still the same Lothario who made me wish to have a vasectomy on my heart. Looking at him, all the hate was gone. I instantly became Hancock, losing power when my lover is around. I was back being that girl, the girl who would constantly appease him, like all these years of being mistreated by others wasn't strong or traumatizing enough. My original and main trauma was here. He didn't look penitent, not even when his world was falling apart. He offered to escort me to where his brother was. We started walking, and suddenly he starts walking faster than me, as if he didn't want to be seen with me. I patiently took another humiliation, and it was fine with me as I learned long ago that I wasn't men's favorite person to be seen with. After greeting and showing support to his brother, I left. This whole encounter took me back 10 years ago, when I was only a credulous girl who fell in love with someone. It is hard to interpret what happened, how I became so involved in this. I don't really know, considering I was not happy while I was around him. I wasn't attracted to him, and I didn't feel pleasure while we were intimate. But something pulled me towards that man, like he was Thanos. It always felt as if it was meant to be. Not the kind of meant to be akin to true love from a fairy tale, but it's something that I had to go through, like the heavens preached. This man is going to put you through hell, and you need to take it. And I did. I started crying after I left. I felt hollow. I knew even though he acted normal, he was literally dying inside. His mom was the most precious person to him. He didn't have a heart, but his love for his mother was unconditional. A few days later, a funeral service was held for her. I got ready to go. When I was about to leave the house, I felt an acute toothache. The pain was so sharp and strong that it prevented me from leaving the house. I decided to rest, but I couldn't stop thinking about what he was going through. At that moment, I figured that attending the funeral was forgiveness, while absconding was retribution. What was the point of me going there to show my condolences the other day and not showing up on the day of the climax of the pain? Was my toothache that excruciating? Was I pretending that I was not fit to go? Was it possible that in my pained and sick mind, I didn't desire to be there for him because of everything he had done to me? I was haggling my feelings. I forgave him long time ago, especially when I learned that karma is never direct. You can't do something to a person and expect that person to learn the lesson from you. They will eventually get it, but you are not in command. Retribution is not a matter of making you happy. It's about being fair. It's the judge of our actions. Then again, was being violated a punishment for what I did to someone? Did I ever do something that bad? Maybe it was the pandemic of all the mean things I had said to people. How I told my cousin that her baby looked just like her because he was ugly. Or how I made a joke regarding my aunt not having kids and being single at the age of 50. And how I bullied others all my life. If being deflowered was my fate, and a rooted retribution for those episodes, I deserved it. And I answer for all my future crimes. Still, he didn't deserve this. Not at all. Having his best friend join us in bed while I was under the influence and relatively unconscious wasn't enough reason for him to endure this loss. I can't determine what the ultimate punishment for a rapist is, but there is no such thing as a balanced retribution, since pain isn't measurable. Though I doubt if it would cure me or make me sane. No matter how much I wish evil upon him, it wouldn't give me back the joy of enjoying intimacy and having a free mind. I can't lie that it crossed my mind several times, seeing him in pain, being humiliated in public, treated just like Quasimodo, or anything that would make him feel miserable. I thought about that for years, until I started following up an American crime case regarding a woman who killed her boyfriend. I can't take the memory out of my head of random individuals cheering outside the court because she got the death sentence. I cannot fathom why someone would be happy with that, especially when they don't even know the victim. I am not exonerating this woman in any way, but I don't understand why these wicked people seek to be compensated for something they didn't lose. It was all an uncouth overdose of hatred. I can still hear their voices, smiles, and joy, screaming, "Kill her." Until today, that disturbing story triggers me. It makes me assess that fatal episode again and how I felt when it was happening. You know when you're about to cross the road, suddenly a car comes and you freeze. That's how I felt. I wasn't sure what was happening and what should I do to prevent it. My thoughts were paralyzed. However, being plundered off my hallelujah was a trailer compared to what is coming. It was almost dawn. I was leaving a nightclub alone because I didn't want to wait for my friends. I was slowly entering that phase that partying wasn't for me anymore. I was becoming a retired trouble girl, thinking that I was finally cured. but I guess my fate had other plans. As I walk home, approximately 10 girls surround me. Out of the blue, they started to punch, push, kick me until I lost count. They broke my glasses, which made me not see what was happening. I am myopic, but in my memories everything was clear. They threw me on the floor and dragged me like I was trash. It was an ensemble of hate, a scourge. When people asked them why they treated me like an animal, they admitted, "We don't like the way she walks." Funny enough, they imperiled me until I couldn't walk. That was definitely my death penalty. Little did they know that I developed that superior walk to embellish the shame of being brutally touched. One of the side effects of being deprived by the first man who ever touched me was gaining a superiority complex. I thought my walk was preventing me from being vulnerable and weak, a handy response to offenses before they come. However, my walk should have never been the shield. Instead, forgiveness should have been my ready-made provision to handle anything. Am I entitled to not forgive these girls? No, because life expects you to forgive. People do all kinds of unspeakable things to you, and you are even obliged to forgive them. Undoubtedly, forgiving was draining for me. It felt like I wasn't vindicating my feelings or honoring my pain. Still, I managed to do it somehow, but it wasn't organic. It was forced. So I could be deemed cured and less bitter. I even changed my walk and everything about me, not to be guilty of the crime of people not liking me. I wonder if I appear in their dreams sometimes. In fact, I wonder if I am the cause of their depression because they are mine. I became neurotic. I was enslaved in my own mind. I couldn't go to certain places and suddenly I longed to go home. I couldn't grasp why I was still being dragged mentally. Isn't forgiveness the lack of retribution? I have never retaliated or done anything to hurt them. Rather, I took my explicit self-experience as protection by going and growing through my pain. When I break down and fail to comprehend everything again, I think about When They See Us, an American TV series about a group of black teenagers who were wrongly accused of raping a white woman. I connected the narrative to when my friends would emulate that act. At parties, they would pick the drunkest girl, take her to a room, and organize themselves in a queue, where one by one, they would destroy her dreams of having peace of mind. And they didn't get punished. They were immune to the sacred retribution. On the other hand, the American boys from the Freedom City of New York were sentenced to 5 to 10 years in prison. Another scene that strikes my mind every time I watch that series is one of the young boys at his trial going crazy. I saw myself in that scenario. Those 2 minutes was 10 years of my life since the day that men raped my soul. Sometimes you see someone acting folly, throwing tantrums and taking drugs, as if all that hurt doesn't allow them to be rational. If those kids took 5 to 10 years of jail time, I definitely took 5 to 10 years of depression. It was extremely difficult to not admire retribution when everything moves around it. You grow up raised by movies who tell you that revenge is the panacea for everything. So you want to be an avenger for yourself. And when you can't, you ask yourself, why am I here? I am in a fix between a life of regrets and traveling to the unknown. But what if the afterlife is the sentence of all poetic justices and unforgiving quagmires? I can't give up, especially now that I fully recognize true forgiveness. Forgiveness is a process. The same way it took a series of collateral episodes to destroy me, it takes a healing trilogy, or even more, to resuscitate me. I also realized that the hardest person to forgive was myself, for allowing those things to happen to me. Sometimes I hated myself more than I despised anyone who maimed me. When I finally forgave myself, I accepted that my retribution was my thoughts, resilient thoughts that I turned into inspiration to write.